All right. So I will now discuss my thoughts, having gone through the preamble of my whole how I related to Stranger Things, how my enjoyment of it, my I guess you could say I'm a mild fan. I'm definitely not a fanatic. I'm definitely not as into it as I was into Star Wars as a kid, or as into it as I am into I don't know, Bret Easton Ellis novels as I am as an adult. But I still, thought season one was still really, really special, and that I enjoyed watching seasons 2, 3, and 4, in spite of certain things that that detracted from the show becoming self-aware and them deciding to do certain things with certain characters and so forth and so on. All right, so having seen just episode 1 of season 5 and not any other episodes, and not having watched anyone else's commentary yet. I'm sure there are people with hot takes already out there all over the internet, but I haven't read any of them or watched any of them. I've got to say there's something about episode 1 of season 5 that I don't want to say it rubs me the wrong way. That's putting it too negatively. But there's a strange kind of entropic kind of quality to the look and feel of things. Okay, the look and feel of the show. The cast, of course, the kids are way too old now because things got delayed so long. So they all have to pretend that they're younger than they really are. The teenagers, like the teenagers or I guess they're supposed to be like at most in their very early 20s. They're like I think more like in their 30s, the actual actors are, and the kids who are actually the right age, 11 and the 4 boys, who are all the correct age when the show was set in 1983. Season 1 was set in 1983. Now it's just 4 years later, but they all look a whole lot more than 4 years older. So, that's an issue, but what can you do? What can you do about that, really? The weirdness of the now the situation is that the entire city has been quarantined off from the rest of the country. I don't know if they're going to go somewhere with this whole quote unquote quarantine thing that's kind of edgy. I kind of doubt that they will, but it brings to mind something pretty ridiculous and just pretty despicable that happened 5 years ago or so. In some ways, just the word quarantine conjures up those thoughts of that evil time. But I don't. What's strange to me is that the characters, they're older, but so many of them just look haggard. They look like they're the worse for wear. Just about every single character. Some more than others. but they all just look like they've been through the ringer. They all look dirty and grimy, and I can't tell if this is intentional or not. Like, why would they be? Is it because they're in this town that's roped off from the rest of the country? Why would but don't they still have running water? Can't they still take showers? Do they still have access to makeup? Why do they look so bad? Like, what's going on with that? You know, everybody looks kind of old and tired, and maybe they're going somewhere with that, or maybe that's just an unfortunate thing that. But it seems like the makeup people could have done a better job at hiding this stuff. They could have done a better, like maybe some of these actors didn't age as well as they should have, as they should have. I shouldn't say. I shouldn't say that, but as they could have. But it seems like they were an appealing to look at group of people in the early, in the early seasons, and now they're sort of not really. Everybody's uglier. Like, what's up with that? Why is everybody ugly? Ugly now. There's a sense of like, okay, we're and I want to make this clear. I will keep watching. I'll watch till the end. But there's a sort of a sense of, we're just spinning our wheels here. Like, what else can we do? This show's gone on longer than we ever thought it would, and we've now painted ourselves into this corner. How are we going to get ourselves out of it? There's like a kind of there's just a sense of quiet desperation, and I don't mean in a dramatic way. I don't mean that the show when I watched episode 1, I wasn't thinking, boy, this is a town that's the quiet desperation of the atmosphere of this show reflects how things are in Hawking, Indiana, which is actually Atlanta, Georgia, and its environs, which is another thing, by the way, that always I think made me feel nostalgic, was even though the setting is Indiana, it looked like, having grown up in suburban Atlanta, it looked like, that stretch of road looks familiar. They're in the woods. Those are just the kinds of trees you see around our neighborhood, and that kind of thing. It had that kind of pull for me on that kind of level. But anyway, there's a sense of, well, what are we really going to do here? How are we going to stretch this out further? Where's the dramatic tension? I can see some things that they're trying to do so far. They're trying to make the former fat kid, I don't remember anybody's name right now, I'm sorry, but the fat kid with the curly hair, they're sort of making him, he's going off the rails a little bit. He's biting like the people who are bullying him. He's bullying them back. He puts a snake into this one jock's locker. That's kind of interesting. So it's sort of like the bullied becomes the bullier, and then what, and so we have a sense of like him, what they're doing with his character is kind of interesting. They're trying to induce this because the cocky jock kid from season 1 made this turn in season 2 and became a nice guy, a likable guy, somebody who found his humility. They're trying to sort of reignite the love triangle thing again, with the girl now being with the guy who was the former geek or nerd, and now so those two guys are competing, are trying to outdo each other to impress the girl. I don't know where are they going to go with that. That's interesting. What I'm afraid of is, they're going to pull out some stops and like do some things just for sheer dramatic effect, like have some characters die, and have it just be just cheap emotion, like going for some like pulling at our tear ducts kind of emotionally manipulative stuff. I can see them, or it seems like they might eventually go in that direction with some of these characters. Of course, I don't, and that's mistaken for powerful. Like, if they just kill off some character that everybody loves, then a bunch of people get all upset, and it's like, oh, that was so powerful. No, it wasn't really powerful. I mean, it was just manipulative, right? It's like you can show me something upsetting, and that doesn't make you an auteur. It doesn't make you there's nothing dramatically accomplished about that. It's just a cheap way to try to conjure up emotion. It's the Dead Poet Society, the ending of the Dead Poet Society thing again, which I always hated, as I talked about in a previous. I hate that movie for that very reason. What they did at the end with the cheap sort of way that they pull at your tear ducts. Boy. So yeah, so it's weird that things are. Why does everybody look so ugly? And I mean, I'm not saying I'm not saying that in a mean kind of way. I'm saying, why didn't the makeup people do a better job of making the cast look better? Why does this this group of people who were appealing to look at before? I'm not sexualizing. I'm not saying the kids were attractive. All right, I'm not sexualizing the kids, but they were appealing, to look at in the early in season 1, and now there's just this worn out feeling to everything. They're trying to amp up the intrigue. Of course, there's like the social engineering stuff with introducing LGBT stuff, which that's whatever. I mean, it's a little annoying, but it's whatever. And I think there, I thought, I was hoping that with Will, right? That's his name. Will is the name of the poor kid who always just gets. In the first season, he got kidnapped and then traumatized. The second season, he got traumatized by some different monster. It seems like he was always getting picked on. Now we see him getting, being once again being psychically linked to Vecna in this disturbing scene that had a dare I say, a somewhat sexualized kind of energy to it, or aura to it, where we see a flashback of a scene from when he was originally in the Upside Down, and how Vecna attaches this hose to his mouth and pumps all this junk into him through his mouth. You can't help. You don't have to be pervy to watch that scene and think, this is kind of pervy. This is suggestive of some obvious things. But I think they're going to. What I've been hearing is that they're going to say that Will is gay. I was always more interested, that Will was different. Like the other guys were all into girls and stuff, but Will wanted, like in the early seasons, Will was just more into, no, let's go back to what we were doing. Let's keep our childhood. Let's play D&D like we used to, and kind of resisting the whole sliding into adolescence and all of everything that goes along with it. Like he's wanting to retain what was golden about their pre-adolescent time period. I found it more interesting when Will was going to be just Will wasn't into girls, not because he was into guys, but because he wanted to hold on to his childhood, and the other guys were just more he was more sensitive and thought. I could relate to that. I remember being 11, 12, 13 and thinking to myself, I don't want to become a teenager. I don't want to become this kind of idiot teenager that they say I'm supposed to become. I remember feeling that way. I don't want to. I want to keep on. Childhood was great. Life, prepubescent existence was wonderful. It was fun. It was amazing. And I was dragged kicking and screaming into puberty and adolescence and all of the sots and thralls that flesh is heir to. But I didn't want to go there, and I liked it better when Will was sort of relatable in that sense. But now I guess they're leaning towards Will isn't into girls because he's into guys, and like that's so much. Yeah, it's part of the whole it's part of the the propaganda stuff, LGBT acceptance propaganda stuff, which is annoying. But what's more annoying is that they're making this character who I thought it was more interesting to have him be somebody who was resisting adolescence for some more interesting reason, like not just who wasn't into girls couldn't relate to going out with girls, and because he wasn't attracted to girls. That's just so much less interesting. So he comes across the the two lesbian girls together and sees them, canoodling and sweet talking, and he has a weird kind of he reacts to it in a weird kind of way, like it was like what's his name, like watching Phoebe Cates climb out of the pool in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, except it's not except it's apparently he's not being turned on by it if he's gay and if he's into guys. So seeing two girls together couldn't be arousing for that reason, but somehow it's arousing, or it's really, it makes him drop his Coke on the floor and run away. So I'm sort of I'm wincing a little at that whole thing, that where they're going to go with all of that. Anyway, these are my honest thoughts about episode 1 of Stranger Things. I haven't watched further. I wanted to put this out there without reading anybody else's reviews or hearing what anybody else had to say about anything. So those are my thoughts. What do y'all think? Have you seen it? If you have, what do you think about all this?